What is going on, YouTubeverse? John Stanek from Johnny Radio here, bringing you episode 3 of the top 100 artists of all time as voted by you guys. We're counting down numbers 90 through 86. So psyched to get right into it, so let's do it. At number 90... the Sex Pistols. Yes, the punk band from the late 70s from England. These guys kind of changed the world at the time. One of the first punk rock bands officially in the late 70s. And I gotta say, even though they had some great songs like Anarchy in the UK and God Save the Queen, they're not a band that I latched onto. And I think part of that reason, and this goes for a lot of punk rock bands, I think it has to do with your coming of age years. And if you missed the boat like I did, like I was born in 1978. So, my coming of age punk rock years were bands like Nirvana in the 90s, which I still go back and listen to and love. But because, I wasn't in my teen angsty years in the late 70s, I just never really got into these guys, but I can definitely see why other people did, maybe that grew up in that time frame, and you can definitely hear the influence that they had on bands like Nirvana down the road. So that's at number 90. Now at number 89. The Ramones, right after the Sex Pistols. This is interesting. Another late 70s, one of the first punk rock bands to come out of America. They're from New York. Joey Ramone and the guys, you've got all these 2-minute rockers like Judy is a Punk and Blitzkrieg Bop that are still used in commercials and films today. For good reason. I think the Ramones, I would, if I were ranking them, which I didn't pick either of those bands for my vote, but I would rank them slightly higher than the Sex Pistols because I think they're a little bit more catchy. And for the same reason, I think they had such a huge impact on bands after them, just like the Sex Pistols did. And, the Ramones are one of those bands, too, where punk rock, to me, is a lot about image. And the Ramones, just like, you could actually go back and say the mid-60s is when punk really started with bands like The Who and the Velvet Underground. But like Velvet Underground, you see Joey Ramone just walking around in a leather jacket and you're like, that's just some dude down the street, instead of Led Zeppelin, who had these epic, Robert Plant with his chest open and Jimmy Page with dragon embroidered epic clothes. That's just these regular guys. And you're like, man, if they can do it, I can pick up a guitar and do it as well. So, you have countless bands, garage rock bands that have been influenced. And like I said, whatever your era is, if it's the Ramones and the Sex Pistols, or if it's Nirvana, or if it's the White Stripes, everybody's got their favorite punk rock band. And so there you go. Good to see them on the list. Now at number 88... The Temptations. We got another Motown act on the list. So great. Man, so many hits. You got My Girl. You got Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Just My Imagination. Oh man, the list goes on. And, Motown really had so many acts, so many artists, and a lot of these groups that had, 4 or 5 singers that, you had the alto voice, you've got the low voice, and I think the Temptations are just the band out of all of those that all the other kind of look up to. They're one of the first, of course, but also one of the best. And they continued through the years. I believe the Temptations are still going in some form, but, it wasn't just the big hits in the 60s, in the 70s as well. They continued with, Papa Was a Rolling Stone, another great song. So, just one of those influential artists for so many, and definitely glad to see them on this list. So now at number 87... Lou Reed. Yes, man, I'm psyched to see Lou Reed on the list. I don't think I voted for him on mine, but I'm definitely excited to have him on here because, whether he was in the Velvet Underground in the 60s or when he went on his own in the early 70s, my personal favorite album of his is Transformer. I believe that was his first solo record that David Bowie produced. And I mean, come on, you've got hits like Walk on the Wild Side and Perfect Day, which still, both of those songs are just so amazing. But then you've also got weird songs like Goodnight Ladies and Vicious, just an all-around great record. If you're new to Lou Reed, definitely start there. But, the guy continued through his entire career. He collaborated with bands like Metallica at one point. He did poetry readings, just a very interesting dude if you're not familiar with Lou Reed. And one of the most recognizable voices, his, weird baritone. He's just one of the coolest. And, kind of like Joey Ramone, he's one of those dudes, that you'd see on the street and people, when they would see him, would go, Lou, like that. And, gotta love it, man. So glad he's on the list. And now at number 86, Kings of Leon. Yes, I'm really psyched about this one. I admit I did have them on my list, and several of you did obviously as well, but the Tennessee rockers, man, these guys just they don't have a bad record. I just actually did a review of their new song, 100,000 People, from their upcoming album that's coming in March. I'm really psyched for that, but I mean, all their stuff is great. My favorite album is 2008's Only by the Night, which I also recently reviewed here on the channel. I got it for Christmas on vinyl. If you're new to the band, that's a great starting point. Aha Shake Heartbreak from 2005 was my introduction to them, and as soon as I heard the fiery guitars, it was like, oh man, there hadn't been really a good hard rock band in a few years, and when I heard them, I was just like, I gotta hear more of their stuff. And, they're just awesome. The three brothers and one cousin, the Follow Will gang, they're just fantastic. I don't know what else I can say about them other than if you haven't checked them out, definitely do, especially if you love rock music, classic rock music. They are just as good, in my opinion, as some of the best stuff from the 60s and 70s. And so that's it, guys, for this episode. We are all the way to 86 so far. Tune in next week. We're going to go 85 to 81. So let's see who's next. Let me know in the comments below, did anyone who you voted for make this list or, thus far? How do you think the list is coming out so far? Would love to hear your comments. And guys, we got top fives every Friday, album reviews, so much more. Thank you for watching. And as always, Viva la Vinyl. So guys, thanks so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and be sure to ring the bell for notifications so you can always see great quality content like you're seeing on the screen right now. Thank you so much for supporting Johnny Radio, and I'll see you soon.